That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, welcome to day 3, and today we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about how to understand your footprint.
Carbon footprint is a new term for a lot of people, and it's something that has been accepted as a way in which to talk about both your personal emissions as well as a company's emissions.
Why do we need to understand it, and how is it even calculated? Why that makes a difference? The end goal of this conversation is, of course, for us to be able to explore some simple tools that we can access to define our carbon footprint, all elements of our creative process, so we can just make better decisions about how we're making our art and what we're using to make it.
So as we understand our artwork and what we do within those terms, then we can come up with this measurement piece. So this is that carbon footprint is the product of measurement. And then we can actually look at it, reduce it, and keep going. But today we're just really going to focus on what is a carbon footprint, what does that mean in relation to my art and as an artist.
You know, again, this goes back to the information is power. Once we're equipped with information that makes sense to us, then we feel better about making decisions. It kind of demystifies the challenge of it. When you, for example, when you think of, oh my God, I have to reduce my carbon footprint. If you don't know what it is and you don't know the elements that make it up, how can you even begin to make decisions about shifting that? But once we explore those 5 elements of our carbon footprints as creators, it gets a little bit easier to take apart and then, of course, eventually make better decisions about what we're using, how we're using these materials, and making better choices about it.
This isn't to make you feel guilty or make you feel like you need to change something. Again, we're really stressing that. We're really just having this first conversation, and we're getting the information to you so that you really understand what it means. And then as you move forwards, this can be percolating in the back of your head as you decide what materials are you going to use, as you decide what that next project's going to be. We all have a big footprint. I can tell you in my studio I do, and I'm here today and I'm here tomorrow to see which little pieces I can whittle down, get more aligned with how I feel personally about what I'm doing in this world and how it affects us. Going through the factors of what goes into a carbon footprint, which there's 5: energy, transportation, materials, process, and waste.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so today's Ask an Artist, we're just randomly asking artists, what is the carbon footprint? How's your environmental impact? What are those types of ideas around that? And then we look at Learning Lab, which is going to be a really awesome, quick animation about what a carbon footprint really is.
Yeah, so people can understand it. I think some of us think we know what it is, but we'd really like to dispel the myths that might pervade around that and make it simple and concrete.
And if we look at the videos recommendations for today, again, this is really reiterating and kind of reinforcing those basic concepts of what is a carbon footprint. Like by the end of the day, everybody here should know what goes into a carbon footprint, understanding artists and how they're harnessing the power.
Yeah, and again, you're going to discover along the way today and hopefully all the days how artists are already addressing this really critical issue of the climate crisis that we're in, and what they can do and what they are doing already to mitigate the ill effects of our carbon footprints and output.
The podcasts are really a deep dive into some episodes.
The Tiny Climate Challenge is one of the coolest podcasts out there, I think, about climate change because it's so action-oriented, and that's one that I have found to be really motivating, and you might too.
And then this second one I actually picked because Seth is a big name in my past life, which is digital marketing and things like that. Seth does tons of speaking, and he's kind of like the guru around marketing and getting stories.
He's also kind of into life hacking too.
Yeah.
And so that theme is, I think, what I like to think about when I'm choosing different materials or processes, or I want to figure out how to hack it to make it easier, faster, better, stronger.
And he's just really good at explaining hard concepts into easy ways to think about them.
Yeah.
Climate change action and sustainability is exactly what it says.
Yep. How to make a difference now, today. Go.
All right, more books.
My favorite section. There's 3 that we've picked out for you to snoop around with this day and probably for the next couple of weeks. And these 3 are actually, the first one by Al Gore is his sequel. It's an inconvenient sequel, The Truth to Power. And if you read An Inconvenient Truth, followed him when he was doing that work, it seemed like lifetimes ago, it's really important work that he set up. And so this is the next stage, and it's a good launch pad for this conversation. The Being the Change book is also really, really important about how we can all join the climate revolution. And I think there's some inspiring language in that tome as well that you might find interesting. And then the Reduce Your Carbon Footprint by Ann Coulson is another, it's in a way a simple guide, but it's also foundational for setting the tone and giving us the language that we need to continue to have these conversations together. So dive in.
Links. Okay, understanding your carbon footprint. This is really just a really good data graph of what greenhouse effects are doing, really helping you kind of visualize the effects of that. Carbon footprints are hard to understand. They are. That's why we're doing this. This is why the whole world's doing this. We're here to focus on the arts and what arts can do around it. But carbon footprints are getting easier to understand, and the fact that we can start tracing them, data's there. People are starting to articulate the big buckets that go into what a footprint is. So we're having this kind of global idea about what we all agree on are like the 5 factors of a carbon footprint. Carbon footprints of the art world.
The art world is just really starting to take notice about carbon footprint and carbon emission impact. And this is a great article to start having that conversation. So please dive into that. We're going to be exploring that same theme throughout the week.